You're listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerd hosts, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses. In the episode for Friday, September 6th, 2024.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Andrew,
It's been a week,
I don't think I should have gone on that news cruise.
I mean, I'll tell you, I was freaked out. I must have taken 3 or 4 COVID tests last week because I was convinced I had COVID. I felt it. I had all the feels. I stuck so many things in my nose.
That's not good.
Luckily,
Yeah.
hey, man, it's okay, though. It's okay. I don't have COVID.
Well, you're the lucky one because it's my birthday this week, Andrew. And guess what? All I got for my birthday was COVID.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you could probably tell I sound a little off. We'll see how long my voice lasts.
Oh, that's a bummer, man. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
especially-
I guess I was just having phantom symptoms.
Or sympathy symptoms, perhaps.
Or
I don't
whatever.
know,
Sympathy symptoms. I don't know how bullshit works.
I know you absolutely know how bullshit works, but that's beside the point. But so we're back home. We're quarantining, and at least I am, and this has given us time to pursue some geekery this week, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken. So we're gonna do a week in geek this week. Andrew, why don't you start, since you're the healthy one? What was your week in geek like?
All right, a quick side geek. Side geek. I actually I started watching a new show that I'd already talked about. So it's not that big. It's not my week in geek. I just want to mention it. I picked up The Walking Dead again because I think I originally talked about it a year ago. I watched 4 episodes, and now I've watched another 6 or 8. The reason why is because I actually I picked up through a Kickstarter the role playing game, the Walking Dead universe role playing game, and I was so boggled by some of the things in the book, the rules. I was like, dude, I gotta maybe I need to watch the show to get context. And I realized the problem I had, this is just a real quick one, was that the role-playing game was basically trying to capture the experience of the show, which is a fucking downer.
Yeah.
It was just
and also frustrating character choices and
everything was kind of hey, here's a game to really make sure everything sucks. Anyway,
I think I watched through season 3, maybe 4, and then this is too
it's
dumb and dire.
It's weird because and I've talked about this in the context of Fallout, that I was come to these kind of these things with I want the hopeful story, right? I want the zombie survival where people come together and survive. That is not this show. No,
it's a cynical show, and it's kind of tired at this point. But
11 seasons plus 5 spinoffs later, anyway, I just wanted that was my weird side comment.
So you instead looked for hopefulness?
I looked for something a little bit more upbeat. And I discovered that a new TV show came out in April that I had not seen.
Okay.
It is called Knuckles, which is in the Sonic the Hedgehog movieverse, cinematic universe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Knuckles, but the show is part of the cinematic universe. So it's Idris Elba.
That's right. Idris Elba, right.
The voice of Knuckles, and the dude playing the deputy Wade Whipple. I forget his name.
That's James Marsters?
No. I forget the actor's name. It's someone I don't know other than from this. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is I watched the 6-episode show Knuckles, and what did I watch? I sincerely, I don't know what this show. They're all 25 to 30-minute episodes. It's relatively short. And I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I don't know what this show was supposed to be about.
It's not because let's just run down who Knuckles is, right? He's an echidna for one, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of
he's an alien
naughty boy.
echidna.
Yeah.
No, he's not the naughty. He's the warrior. At least that's what the movie establishes.
I might be thinking of Shadow.
He is. You know,
I'm not well versed on the Sonic universe.
Oh, I mean,
here,
that's all I remember is Big the Cat, and he doesn't have a show yet. Although I've got big aspirations I'll talk about later. No, it's this Knuckles show. Like, it's weird because it's, you know, he was this very serious. He worked with Robotnik. He's trying to find the Master Chaos Emerald.
So it's not like some dark sort of like anti-hero action show.
No, he's very serious, and you know he's a warrior of the Echidnas or whatever.
Right,
he's the last of his tribe or whatever. And basically the whole show is about him teaming up with Wade Whipple, who's the deputy.
Yeah, played by Adam Pally. If you've seen any like sitcom in the last 10 years, he's
okay.
I actually like him quite a bit. He's really good in every show I've seen him in. He was in the Mindy Project, and he's great.
Oh, they're fine. It's weird because they pair up. Knuckles basically it takes him as his apprentice to train him to be a warrior, and by warrior I mean train him so he can go to a bowling tournament and win.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and it's 6 episodes, and I swear to God, like, okay, some of them are, I would say at least 2 of them are like weird set piece, like I think the 3rd or 4th episode is, I think it's even called like the Shabbat episode.
Wait, what?
It's literally about, they show up at Wade's home where his mother is, and they have Shabbat dinner, right? That's like the whole episode. And it's like, you're like, what's going on? And like, it's like, oh, I guess Knuckles is, or as his mother calls him, Knuckles. I guess he's Jewish now, right?
Do you know what this sounds like? This sounds like if they decided to make a TV show based on, remember those like shorts they did, or I don't even know if they were shorts. They were like literally like sketches of when Thor was like living with a roommate.
Yes.
Did you ever see that? Yeah,
that's like they had 25 25-minute episodes of that.
That sounds all right, actually.
It's and the 4th episode is basically primarily a rock opera musical.
Okay.
Again, it is this thing where, like, as I say it out loud, I'm like, was I high? Like,
wait a minute. I'm reading that Christopher Lloyd is in this
Christopher
show?
Lloyd's in it. Carrie Ells is in it. Christopher Lloyd's in it. Stockard Channing.
First Lady.
It's like it is this weird collection of, like, they got some people to do this show, mostly like bit parts. I mean, Carrie Ells, that's one where actually, like, when he shows up, it's like, oh wait, what? Like, what is he doing? Like,
Pistol Pete Whipple? This is insane. What is going on here?
Again,
okay.
It is. I think one episode's basically like a bowling tournament.
All right.
Yeah, it is weird. And again, I have no doubt some people will watch it and say like, "Oh, I don't like it." Sure, I enjoyed it, but it's weird.
That's the question. Do you like? I'm not sure based on your description here if you like the show.
Well, it's just like every episode. Like the first episode was like, okay, this is pretty standard. It's the only one with Sonic and Tails. And then the second episode starts to get like, okay, wait, what am I watching? And then it's just like, I don't even know, man. But I'm gonna keep watching it. Like, there's I think it's the 4th episode, which has the rock opera musical, but also features him in some sort of jousting duel on a bicycle against an actor who's like a notable, like kind of a famed character actor. Right? I don't know if he's famed. I know when I was watching it, so, you know, my partner was like, "Oh, that's that guy." Like, he's Julian Barrett.
Oh yeah.
Right, who plays all sorts of weird characters and things.
Yeah. He's from most famously from the Mighty Boosh sketch show from Britain,
where he plays. But he plays Jack Sinclair, the bounty hunter, who is Wade Whipple's former bowling team member. Again, I say this stuff out loud, and you're like, "I'm sorry, what?" That is his show. And I can see why, like, the fact that it's only about like 3 hours long, it almost feels like someone pitched a movie and the guys are like, "What is this?" And
where did you watch this?
It's on Paramount Plus.
Okay, so it's a Paramount Plus original, I'm guessing, right? So
yeah, it is part of their whatever cinematic
right
load.
And with all their, as we talked about, I think briefly last week with the Star Trek news, although that was optimistic news that, hey, new Star Trek's coming. Paramount Plus has been in a state like for the last couple of years, and I could see this. This is an invention of restrictions where, like, I bet they maybe had an idea, but then they got the budget, and it's like, what can you do with this? So like, well, I guess he has a roommate, right?
Well, except that there's a lot of like Knuckles. And he is, you know, I mean, he's a CGI character, right?
Right. But he said like Sonic and Tails only pop up once.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're only in the first episode, but they still have Knuckles in every episode, which would be given that it's called Knuckles, it would be hard not to make that show.
Well, because outside of that, it just sounds like a sitcom, which are notoriously pretty cheap to film, which so not a lot of like complicated shots, perhaps. I don't know. I'm just speculating
there are some,
here.
I mean, there are some big action shots.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just don't know. I don't know. Actually, the rock opera musical seems like it's a pretty ridiculous bit. I mean, really, the only thing that's the most like just three camera whatever sitcom-y episode is the Shabbat episode. But even that one features a very CGI'd fight scene, which again you're wondering, and you'll just have to watch. So, yeah, it is. It really. Again, I liked it. I watched the whole thing. It's that kind of thing where it's like, who greenlit this? You know, like. Who read the pitch and was like, yes, make that?
That sounds interesting. I'm glad they're doing something like unique with it. So like, I hope it didn't come across as negative there, but like, I almost like applaud a more like constrained show like this, because the easy thing to do would just to be like an action adventure show, like a lot of other, especially like kid-focused content tends to be. I'm not saying this is kid-focused content. It sounds like it's actually kind of smart and multifaceted in terms of its audience. To go somewhere, take a right turn and actually do something interesting and unique that makes it something that people will talk about, is rather than just like, oh, it's another action superhero show.
Right. And I almost feel bad that, it came out in April, right? So here I am 4 months later, always at the cutting edge of everything. And
you're still in the calendar year here.
Yeah, I suspect at this point it's probably like, failed, right? Like it didn't, do the numbers. Although who knows, right? They've got the new Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie coming out in a few months, right? It's the one that features Shadow the Hedgehog. Speaking of,
well, there you go.
So it's such a weird.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, and. Yeah, it's am I recommending it? I don't know. If you've got 3 hours of your life to kill, and you like to hear Idris Elba say some really weird shit, but not actually see him say it have those words come out of a red CGI character. Mm-hmm. What's like? One of the jokes that because it takes place, they end up going to Reno, Nevada, where apparently the bowling championship arena is. I don't know if that's actually true, but one of the jokes is it's also there's a mascot convention at the hotel, so there's these people dressed up like mascots, and there's a whole. And this whole shtick where he thinks he sees like an out of shape elderly echidna because it's some dude in like a flabby red. And there's like, okay, this was like a joke someone thought of, like, wouldn't it be funny if the whole gag is that no one suspects Knuckles is weird because they think he's part of the convention? I have no idea.
It's funny because, especially because like I see names like Adam Pally, Ben Schwartz, who does the voice of Sonic, Rob Hubel. I'm just looking at the cast list here. Julian Barrett, like all those people I named come from like sketch comedy or stand-up comedy backgrounds, right? And so like when you see those names attached, I can see this happening. But the surprising name I see attached to it is like the main, like Idris Elba, who's kind of Mr. Drama in a lot of ways, and him being like, I'm playing Knuckles. I'm bringing my gravitas to this role, and was like, hey, we want to do this like sitcom absurdist show, and have him go like, sure, that sounds great, is cool to see as well. It's like you said, it's really an interesting enmeshing of all these different ideas and actors in this case, as well as just like genres. It sounds bizarre, and I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they took that risk.
And it probably
hopefully pays off.
Probably a failure, but I will say, you know, to me, to a certain extent, I think of it in the same vein I think of like WandaVision, where like this was weird,
right?
You did it, and
even She-Hulk too, right?
Yeah, and again, I think they have mixed results. I don't know what is the audience that wants to watch a Sonic the Hedgehog TV series? What do they say to right. an entire episode about? I mean, ostensibly like Jewish guilt and survival. I don't like
right.
Which and there's this weird takeaway. Like I think this is the intent that, you know, Knuckles, right, initially when they cast Idris Elba, they're like, yeah, by the way, Knuckles is black. Like, at least that felt like what they were trying to communicate. And now, like, oh, and by the way, he's also Jewish. Right? Like, to the point where I think in the 5th or 6th episode, he's in a bar in this hotel, and they ask, do you want anything to eat? And he's like, oh, do you have any challah bread? Right? Nice. And then it shows him just sitting there eating, you know, it's like, all right, he's Jewish now. Okay.
So I guess the question is, in Sonic 3, I'm guessing he'll appear in that. How much of that identity,
right? Is he suddenly gonna like? Oh, sorry, I can't. It's Shabbos.
Right.
I can't roll on Shabbos. You know, I'm joking about that. Although again, they had a Big Lebowski poster. This was a bowling themed movie or TV series. God, it is really like they all just kind of sat around and said like, what would be like the weirdest mashup of stuff we like? Here we go.
These rings really tie the room together.
Right. I'm surprised they didn't, you know, throw something like that out. But so anyway, that was my weird week in geek. Dan, what about you?
With school starting up and obviously getting ill, and then trying to move back into the renovated rooms with construction now finished. I'm sorry if it still sounds echoey. I'm back in my home office, but nothing's on the walls yet, so I'm doing my best. Hopefully it'll be remedied soon. But with that being said, I haven't had too much time to dive into things, into anything particularly in a thorough or deep manner. But I do have two things that I've touched upon and have come away in my sort of early hours with some slight opinions on, understanding that I am just scratching the surface. And these are two video games. One, I'll start with the one that I know you have experience with. I've finally sat down, because I bought it on sale, and played, or I started to play Octopath Traveler, a JRPG that it's a SquareEnix game, right?
It's a SquareEnix.
Yeah. But definitely pulling from the tradition of that company. A lot of Final Fantasy in there. I'm getting a lot of like Saga Frontier or Romancing Saga vibes.
Right, pulling from the tradition, but more of the traditional tradition rather than like anything contemporary. Yeah,
it's that 16-bit style that has the kind of what they call the tilt shift sort of filter on it, where things kind of look like toy boxes or like, you know, miniature sort of settings. Really interesting, really pretty look. And it's an interesting game because I know you've talked about it. I don't know if you've talked about it on the show. You probably have. We'll dig through the archives to find that. But you're given the choice of 8 characters to choose from, and they're all very different at the beginning. And you kind of play through the intro of their story before wandering off to finish that character's story, basically, right? And I guess what I say is that the thing that kind of impressed me is that I picked a character named Cyrus, who was an academic, right? And I've played enough JRPGs to know, like, okay, once we get the team together, we realize that, oh, the world is at stake, the universe is at stake, and we need our heroes to go save everybody. And like when we kind of get to that point, that sort of like that that catalyst that sends the hero off into the rest of the world, and in this case the game as well. It's so refreshing because it's like mundane. It's our character goes out because he needs to find a book.
Right.
I'm like, wait, what's the, like, that's his motivation, but like, what's the game about? Because as far as I know, it's about finding a book. And like, that's cool. That's really, really cool. And I've been enjoying it for the brief time I've played it.
Yeah, it's actually, so look, I did actually talk about it in 2020, April, actually. So boy, oh boy, 4.5 years ago. You're really,
Yep.
And I like that when I played it, it was had been out for a while, and now here you are.
Finally getting around to it.
There was something like I played through. I didn't finish it. I got pretty far. Like you said, there are 8 characters, and each has their own little story, which you can end up finishing. In fact, I guess you could kind of like just speed run their thing and ignore the other characters. But yeah, it was actually an interesting format, and I think you're right in mentioning the Saga series, especially I was thinking of Saga Frontier, which I played for at least 32 seconds in 1997 because I didn't have a walkthrough. But there was something kind of neat about, like, as you're playing it, is you pick which of the 8 you want to start with, and it feels like, yeah, this is the game I started. This is the game I'm playing. And I imagine what's the different experience if you picked someone totally different, right? Just like I know what story you're going to play through because I played through. I picked up that character and had to do it. Just like that idea that you started here and did it that way.
Right. I didn't consult with you beforehand. I just like, hey, this guy sounds like different than a traditional Japanese role-playing game protagonist.
Oh, then of course the joke being that is also who I started with.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cyrus, the scholar. Of course we both did.
I guess the real reason why he went out into the world is because he got canceled. Because a student said that to the headmaster of the school that he was having illicit relationships with a student, and he's like, he was so funny.
I don't know if canceled is the right word. That's just that's argument. That's just losing your job in a university. Because
what I love it just rolls off him. He's like, you know what? I always wanted a reason to go out and explore for a while. So let's say I'm on sabbatical. It's like, Jesus, dude. Okay, let's do this.
But yeah, and of course the second one has come out since I spoke about it. I have not played it, but it's like what I liked about it was I think it's a fun JRPG, and I will say that like mechanically they do some interesting things that try to make you're going to fight lots of battles, not as hold the fight button static as classic Final Fantasy can be.
To that end, I was really impressed with how engaging the battles have been. Again, no, I'm just over an hour into it, but like it's doing new things. It's bringing new things to that format that I think that's what I really like about JRPG or JRPG styled games, where they make since you're going to be spending a lot of time in battle, might as well try something new, make it more engaging. That's what I liked about Sea of Stars. That's what I liked about Battle Chasers. When that game came out.
But I think the important thing to say though is they do that, but it's not. I think there are games that do it where it's about like positioning and tactics.
Right. It's
right.
Not that.
It's not that. It's its own thing where it's still there's some gameplay. There's something to do. There's things to think about, but it's not move your little man around on the map.
Right. It's not trying to blend like it's a JRPG, but in battles, it's a tactical strategy game.
Well, and I say that because, like, Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Tactics Ogre, that was definitely where they went with how to make this more engaging or whatever. Right.
But I'm enjoying it. It's funny. I remember trying the Saga games. I think I've tried a couple of the Romancing Saga games because they've been available on PlayStation Store, right? The old 16-bit ones. And similar to your experience with Saga Frontier, like I get instantly like not turned off, but I get paralyzed by anxiety because it's like, I either need a walkthrough or like I need to be okay with just doing whatever and seeing where it takes me. And when it's a game like a JRPG that you're probably going to be spending between, I don't know, let's just say 60 and 100 hours here, like that's a lot of my life at this point.
Right.
And so when it got to that point where you got out of that first sort of chapter of this character, and it's like, I'm going out in the world to find a book, like this seems like a trick. And like I actually kind of tensed up, and I'm like, do I even like JRPGs anymore? I don't know, but it seems much more guided than the very open-ended and obtuse like Saga games.
Well, to that I'll say, because you kind of know where to go to continue this adventure, but you also can go other places. Yeah. Like you will end up going to other places just to get there, and in doing so, you'll meet some of the other characters, right?
Right.
But
exactly.
But then you realize once you meet those other characters, you can as the Fallout comment, right? Be distracted by the side quests.
Right. So I'm enjoying it. Probably keep plugging away at it, though. I don't know how much will be a priority, but who knows? Hopefully, it gets its hooks into me a bit more. But it's good. It's a good JRPG, and I'm glad it exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's one more game I've been just dipped my toe into, and I don't know how much further I'll go forward, despite the fact the premise of it is something I'm really digging. I just don't know if it's a game that I can handle or is made for me. It's a game called Pacific Drive, and it's like it's a run-based game that's set in a post-apocalyptic. I think it takes place in the 80s, but like alternate universe. Post-apocalyptic is kind of a strange word for it. More like apocalyptic setting. You're in the Pacific Northwest, and something happened after experimentations that caused the state or caused that area to kind of wall off a portion of the Pacific Northwest. Like bad shit's going on in here, and we're just going to wall it off. And over the years, they kept that border kept expanding. But at some point, they just like kind of gave up and abandoned the whole area. Weird shit's going on inside these walls, anomalies, and as they call them. And basically, the game starts as like no one has ever come out of there in a while, and no one's definitely ever gone in there in a long time. And so, what happens when you start actually have control of the game? You're in like the station wagon on a dock, and you are clearly inside of the walls of this exclusion zone. Like, okay, and you start driving. You're like, we got to go to this safe house, and it seems fine. You're like, you can turn the radio on and off. You can honk the horn. This is great. It's a good little driving sim. Then all of a sudden, weird shit starts happening. Rocks start disappearing or thrusting out of the ground and receding under the ground again. You see like trees apparate out of nowhere. You're like, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, you get enveloped by a large blast of light, and then you just appear in this garage, basically. With your car. And that's as far as I'll go with the story, mostly because
Which is how I get home most of the time.
Fair enough. Yeah, since you live inside the exclusion zone. But basically, it's a run-based game where you're kind of trying to go from one point to another. You're picking sort of these small quests. And all you have to really do this is your car. And so between each run, you are bulking up your vehicle, you're repairing it, you're putting gas in it, you're recharging the batteries, you're creating or crafting materials like health replenishment, but also basically health replenishment for your car. We can like fit, what do you call it, like retighten loose wheels or patch holes in your side panels and stuff like that. And part of when you actually, once you get through the sort of the garage stage, once you actually get out there, part of the what your job is to kind of ransack the area. Do you see a building? Stop and go in there so you can pull as many materials as you can so that you can use it to fix up your car when you reach the end point, right? And there's a really interesting mystery going on. You're doing a lot of radio contact with people that they're like, why are you here? This is strange. You're encountering a lot of strange things out there. And I got through the tutorial. I found it very engaging and interesting. And like, I was like picking up everything. Like I was demolishing every sort of abandoned car I found to get as much material from it. And I outfitted my car so it was like 100% quote unquote health. And I had a bunch of materials and like, you know, enough inventory to kind of patch anything up that I needed. And I went out into the next mission and got obliterated. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, what did I do wrong? I thought I was totally prepared for this. Part of it was I was problem reading the map, but I just think this is also like a tough game. And as much
driving
as
is hard.
Yeah, as much as I enjoy it, I don't know if I have the patience or frame of mind to handle this kind of game right now. It's like a Dark Souls with a car. I should say the other thing was that kind of makes
Dark Souls with a car.
Honestly, when one of the oppressive aspects of it, that kind of reminds me more of those like Fortnite or what's the other game? It doesn't matter, but a game like that where like is that there's like a ring that surrounds the play field that slowly closes in. Okay. And if you are outside that boundary, you like automatically die. And so part of the game, part of the goal of like a Fortnite is to, as far as I know, I've never played it, is to win against all your opponents before before that ring closes around you.
Well, to be the last one standing, for which that is like the ultimate.
Right. Yeah. But there's a time limit on it basically as well. But this closing ring, this has that going on too. And so like I got lost on the map and I didn't realize like, oh, I finally found out where I'm supposed to go. And it's on the other, I'm outside the ring and it's on the other side of the of the ring that I need to get through. I'm like, and I'm sticking to the roads because my car is a piece of shit. So I just got obliterated and I'm like, I kind of lost a lot of the forward motion that I had built after like that opening mission. And so maybe I just need some time away from it, but it's a really well presented game. I really like how they're presenting the story and I like the mystery of it. I need to toughen up first before
get player driving, man.
Yeah, man. The Pacific Northwest. I'll
tell you, it's a jungle out here, or it's actually a evergreen forest. Yeah.
It is so dangerous. You got rid of your car.
I did. Yeah, because every time I'd go out, I'd be in the maelstrom.
So if you, dear listeners, have any thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page for this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with other listeners on our Facebook page.
You can find us on other social media as well, specifically places that Andrew and I frequent, which means you can find me on Instagram at dbethelcomics, and you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp.
While you're at our website at forallintents.net, you can also follow the link in the corner that says YouTube to go to our YouTube page. There you'll find our YouTube page, which we do have all of our episodes simulcast in YouTube. If you do listen to us there, which you can, please like and subscribe and ring the bell.
We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusi, the other is called District 4. They're both written and performed by Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire.
You can find his music and more at incompetech.filmmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 Attribution License.
If you'd like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some sort of review, whether a text review or using their proprietary metric will help spread the word to new potential listeners through the magic of algorithm. Oh, we should also, I'm happy you're here, Andrew. I'm happy, let's just say I'm happy that both of us survived this week.
I mean, I was more concerned about you being so close to
fair
the center of the riots.
And not to complain about news media, but I didn't hear anybody covering it.
I know right? Like, I mean, there's a riot in the middle of the sanctuary district of San Francisco.
Yep.
And not a news story, right? If it weren't for that one fella, that one fella, Gabriel Bell, who helped bring it to a close.
It was a cool 17 degrees Celsius day.
Sorry, that's again, referencing the Deep Space Nine episode. It's past tense, right?
Right.
The Bell riots, which happened on started August 30th, 2024. I do love the fact that, like, there, you know, a lot of Star Trek people were posting screenshots of like, oh, look, it's today. And the only unbelievable thing about that is that they're listing the temperature in Celsius.
Yeah.
In these United States.
Have some respect. Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, I got COVID, so maybe there is a casualty of these riots this year. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Speaking of which, we're still we don't talk about it as much. Still working our way through Deep Space Nine. Still is an incredible show. We're on the precipice of new and exciting things happen in the show. We're nearing the end of season 4.
This is really where the show has picked up its own voice by far, right? Like, it knows what it's doing, and it's doing it.
It started with Cisco shaving his head and getting a goatee,
right?
And only goes forward from there. So until you shave your head and get a goatee, dear listeners, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's.
You were right. He came back to life.
Can you turn it down a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. We're in the middle of something.
Why do you know it?
We're talking about a podcast.
For all intents
and purposes.
And purposes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, the guy that you said that was going to come back to life, he did come back to life.
Yeah, so you're watching an anime where the main character dies in the first episode and then comes back to life. Who'd have guessed?
Well, he didn't come back to life. They all came back to life. It was weird.
All right.
Anime magic.
I love you, buddy. Can you turn it down a little bit?
I guess.
All right, thank you.
Do not repress his anime, Andrew.
Oh, man, I just got hit by a wave of tires.
Oh, no.
I just thought of talking to you, and I was like, oh.
Fair. Better than being hit by a wave of tires.
Twitter is for porn. Twitter is for...
Is this the first song from your new musical? Twitter is for porn.